Welcome to SVG On Demand. We have a good one for you today. If anybody caught it, late last month in November, a event called the PBR Air Force Reserve Cowboys For a Cause took place on the USS Lexington in Corpus Christi, Texas. That's right. It was bulls bucking on top of an aircraft carrier. It's pretty insane. And we have Robby Greene here, who oversees all the TV and production for PBR, to talk about it. Robby, thanks for taking the time today, man. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks, Jason. Good to see you.
You too. So look, let's talk about the event first. Kind of just tell us a little bit about what this Cowboys For a Cause event was all about, and how it came about, and how you guys ended up, pulling it off.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's been something that we've wanted to do for the last couple of years. And if you know anything about PBR, you know that one of the things most dear to our heart are supporting our troops, our military. We have a really good relationship with the U.S. Border Patrol because we understand the sacrifices and what people do each and every day to give us the freedom to do crazy stuff like we did just, as you mentioned, on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. So partnered with a great foundation, Cowboys For a Cause, who supports the families of those that serve and have died and given up the ultimate sacrifice, and need help. So it was a really fitting time of year, a way to put a period on a year that's been a really challenging one, but a very rewarding one at the same time.
That's great. So how did you create essentially a PBR venue on top of an aircraft carrier? And then with that, how did you create some broadcast infrastructure to pull off the show, which aired on CBS?
Yeah, well, when you work for the PBR, you know that there is no such thing as the usual or status quo. Whether it be when we bucked bulls at Times Square, Madison Square Garden, whether we bulls on the beach and other things. But we've been working on this for a couple of years. We had an event or two in Corpus Christi with our Pendleton Whiskey Velocity Tour event. So for the last few years, we've been looking at it, knowing it was something that we wanted to do, and then just made it happen. The great folks that oversee the Blue Ghost, which is the name of the USS Lexington for the just history that ship has made in the war and what it did to again give us the freedom to do things like this. But then we just do what we do. It's 300 tons of dirt and steel and 15 miles of fiber optic cable to run from our television trucks up to the flight deck of the ship. And it was one of the hardest weekends that we've had all year in preparing for it, but obviously the most rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a production standpoint, did you guys roll out some mobile units? What did the crew look like? Give us what it looked like behind the scenes in a very unique show.
Yeah, so it would, as you would expect, I'm going to guess it's between a half and 3/4 of a mile from where our television trucks were able to park and then run everything up there. The actual plane elevator is still operating today, and that's what we did, dump truck at a time or dollies at a time with our cameras, our steel, and our equipment, bulls in a trailer behind a pickup, one at a time going up and down to load it in. A lot of work, a lot of sacrifice, but pulled it off, and even more than just pulled it off, we killed it. For a great cause. Couldn't have done it. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a minute to mention, that Cowboys For a Cause with our charity that we helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for. But without the Air Force Reserve and Wrangler and Bad Boy Mower, South Point, Pendleton Whiskey, and others, Ford, there's no way we could have done this. And just thank you to them first and foremost.
Right. Well, now that you have the event in the can, I know whenever you go to a very unique, odd, out-of-the-box event like this, there's always some crazy challenges. But now that it's in the rear view, looking back, what were a couple of the biggest challenges that you were like, oh my gosh, I'm not really sure how we're going to be able to pull this off?
The first one is the same we faced all year long, and that's COVID-19, the coronavirus, because everyone that got aboard that ship were tested down. The back of our office or B unit became a mobile lab with our partner all year long, coming in and actually rapid testing and doing those. So by far, that's been the biggest challenge all year, because we have to follow those protocols and those CDC guidelines to make sure that we're not bringing in something to an area that before our arrival was otherwise safe. Beyond that, it was just, like we do every weekend with an open and creative mind, saying, well, how are we going to get this from here all the way to there? But the team at PBR just doesn't have an ounce of quit in them. So they figure it out. It's a blast.
Yeah, and I'll give you a chance to do a shout out for your team here. Considering all of the obstacles with the pandemic, with the fact that this had not, been done like this before in terms of on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, and just the overall challenges in terms of the pipeline and logistics and stuff as a result of what's happening right now. How proud are you of your team, especially the broadcast TV crew, for being able to pull this off?
I couldn't be more humbled and proud because what we do in a normal year is champion, and what they bring to the table and to each and every weekend. But what they did for this one, and compared and contrasted with the stories of that ship and the charities, it was a challenge. The early moments of us getting this together, people were had that deer in the headlights look of how are we going to accomplish this. But as you start to tour the ship and learn, what that ship has been a part of and what this charity's been a part of and all the great things that we were doing. Because these riders, remember, these professional athletes and these professional athletes and our bulls as well, they weren't there to earn a check for money. They
Sure.
were there to raise money for this cause. After, by the way, one of the most grueling weeks the week before, called our World Championships, our World Finals at AT&T Stadium, that just it was taxing, but you wouldn't have known it from the team there. Yeah, without them, there's no way we could have done it. So proud of them.
Well, it's been a pretty insane year for you guys. PBR was among, if not the first sport to come back with live events, and then, like you said, your biggest event of the year at AT&T Stadium just a couple weeks ago, and now an aircraft carrier. It's like a cherry on top of everything else. Robby, really appreciate you taking the time as always, and thanks for your support of SVG and our Clean Freaks efforts, and keep up the great work over at PBR.
Thanks, Jason. Happy holidays.